You know how shocking it is when you witness someone being openly racist.
Yeah, I do.
Well, what about when someone is being racist but they don't even know it?
Oh, you mean like the tell me you're a racist without tell me you're a racist people?
Well, kind of, but I'm talking about things people say or do when they think they're being nice, but really, they're being racist.
Oh, right. You're talking about microaggressions. I could tell you a few stories.
Yes, like my friend Matt. Take the first meetup he had with his girlfriend's parents on the weekend. Lorna, his girlfriend. She's so happy everyone's getting along, and just as they sit down to dinner, Lorna's dad says, "Where are you from, Matt?" Matt has Japanese heritage, see, but he was literally born 2 blocks away from where they live.
Hmm. Or like my friend Leo, who put a story on his social media last night about being followed around a sneaker store by the security guard. The guy was really friendly and chatty, but just wouldn't stop following him. You wouldn't believe how many people commented saying Leo was just being paranoid.
That's just it. If you've never been on the receiving end, you might not think it's a big deal. But over a lifetime, those casual slights and insulting comments, they really add up.
Sure do. It might sound less harmful than overt racism. I mean, they're called microaggressions, right? But for someone hearing them all the time, it's like death by a thousand paper cuts.
And the funny thing is, Lorna's dad, he's a nice guy. He likes Matt. He just doesn't even understand that what he did was racist.
Yeah, maybe. But just to be clear, microaggressions aren't always unintentional.
True. That's why this training has been designed to help you improve your awareness.
Stop engaging in behaviors that create and perpetuate race based harm.
And help us in the fight against microaggressions.
So, the first thing we're going to do in this session is to help you identify how you feel about microaggressions by asking you a few quick questions.
Don't worry, we're not going to be judging you. It's just a self-awareness exercise that you might find quite interesting. After that, we're going to introduce you to Alice and Shayla, two friends who are on very different sides of the microaggression fence, to see if you can help clear up some confusion about what constitutes a microaggression.
But this training isn't just about helping you avoid slipping up and saying something unintentionally offensive. It's also about empowering you with some strategies for responding to microaggressive behaviors when you see them.
And letting you practice using them in a safe space.
So, you'll be telling Alice exactly what you think about her behavior with some recommended words and phrases.
But be careful what you say, because if you come on too strong, the conversation might get heated.
And then finally, you'll get the chance to put what you've learned into practice, in your own words, to help Alice understand how what seemed like a harmless comment to her was actually quite harmful to her friends.
So that the next time someone you know uses a microaggression, you'll know what to do. Are you ready to get started? Before we do, please take a moment to think about how confident you feel about navigating microaggressions right now.
So, imagine in a coffee shop and you overheard a conversation between some classmates. You're not entirely sure, but did one of them just subtly insult another person's ethnicity? How would you respond? In this activity, we're going to explore your feelings about microaggressions.
This isn't a test. There are no right or wrong answers, and no one will see this but you. So just choose the option that most closely matches how you feel. Here goes.
Someone new has just joined your team at the coffee shop where you work. The barista training her says, "My friend applied for this job too. The boss must have given it to you because you people always look out for each other." What do you think about that comment?
What about it? She was just making a conversation.
Your classmate returns after a day away. Someone greets him with, "Another religious holiday? How do you ever get any work done?" What's your response?
A classmate asks her Asian friend to tutor him for his math exam because they just know math. Am I right? How does this observation make you feel?
You're discussing your dream to start your own company after college, and your dad says if you partner with an immigrant, you can get one of those new business loans they're always getting. How do you react?
I'll address it if he says it again.
You've been out in a nightclub with your girlfriend. As you leave, she says, "Black people have such great rhythm, don't you think?" How do you react?
You're in the library studying with a friend when someone stops by your table and whispers to her, "Hey Anna, you're Latina. Can you recommend a good Mexican place?" How do you react? It seems like you've given a lot of thought to negative and derogatory messages that microaggressions contain, and you're ready to do something about it. You realize that you can't just let them go, which is key. Taking positive action and challenging microaggressions is our best hope for change.
This training will help you fine-tune your response so that if you call out microaggression, you can feel confident about having a really constructive conversation. Okay, so a gentle heads up before we look at microaggressions in more detail. Some of you, especially those who have been a target of microaggressions, might find the parts of the upcoming conversation unsettling and uncomfortable to hear, which we totally get.
So we want you to know that you can pause the experience at any time. You might want to check the instructions on how to do that in the journal before we go on.
There are three main types of microaggressions. The really obvious ones, like saying the N-word, displaying swastikas, or giving preferential treatment to a white customer over a racialized person. These are called microassaults.
And then there are the more subtle ones, like those sly insults that demean a person's racial heritage or identity.
Like assuming that the black guy is the janitor, or saying you're really attractive, or someone of their race.
We call those micro-insults.
And finally, there are the communications that invalidate or deny a racialized person's thoughts, feelings, and experiences, like asking where someone is really from.
Or saying they're overreacting because the person who has caused offense didn't mean it that way.
Those are called micro-invalidations.
I think we're all pretty good at spotting micro-assaults. But the trouble with the micro-insults and the micro-invalidations is that they're sneaky.
They make things really hard for the target because while they might feel insulted or discriminated against, they might not be able to say exactly why.
And the perpetrator? Well, they don't acknowledge that anything has happened because they might not even realize they've done anything offensive.
Yeah, it's tough. If I confront that as a racialized person, 9 out of 10 times the perpetrator would just deny it. So most of the time I let it slide. But it's like a constant tide of negativity every single day.
If you want to stop engaging in behaviors that create and perpetuate race-based harm, you need to become aware of these less obvious microaggressions and eliminate them from your interactions.
Do you think you can do it? To find out, we're going to play a game to test your awareness.
Awesome! You're about to meet Alice and her friend Shayla. During the course of their short conversation, you're going to hear a lot of microaggressions. See if you can spot them all.
We'll take you over to the locker area now, where they're hanging out.
So, you know that guy, the Muslim guy? Abdullah.
Adil?
Yeah, that's him. He's so touchy about his name. I mean, out of control touchy. I was talking to him just now and I still can't believe this. You know how I have a problem with people's names? Well, I asked if I could call him AD from now on, and let's just say he did not take it well. He stood in the corridor with his arms crossed over his chest and said, "Yeah, I do mind. A lot."
Alice, you know that sounds racist, right?
Shayla, this is me we're talking about. I treat everyone the same. I don't even see color. You know that, right? How can I be racist? You've met my boyfriend, right? He's a mixed race Mexican, for Christ's sakes. Oh, that reminds me. He's having a party next week. Do you want to come? Please come this time. Maybe you could sneak out without your, what do you call it, your hijab? You could be just as pretty as the other girls if you just dressed more like us.
Seriously, Alice? We've had this conversation before, haven't we?
I know, but it's such a waste to cover yourself up like that. Listen, we're both women, right? I know what it's like to be oppressed. You need to emancipate yourself and be strong, independent woman like me. So, anyway, then Adil starts talking really loudly, calling me a xenophobe, whatever that means. I mean, I know his English is really good for an immigrant, but I didn't know what he was talking about. So he Googles the definition on his phone and shoves it right in my face. I know, right? I was like, what the hell? Is he for real? This is insane. And I wouldn't mind, but I go out of my way to be nice to him.
Uh-huh. You mean like in the lunch line the other day, when you told him how lucky he was to have that diversity scholarship?
Well, yeah. So now I'm yelling at him to get out of my face, and he's saying all these horrible things about me, like being ignorant and intolerant and all. And everybody starts looking over to see what all the noise is about. I mean, I love you, Shayla, and I don't want to sound racist, but why are your people so loud and aggressive? And now everyone thinks I'm some awful racist. I would never discriminate. You know that, don't you, Shayla?
Yeah, well, it's not that straightforward. But I'm not going to get into this with you right now. I'm already late for business studies.
So, anyway, then Adil starts talking really loudly, calling me a xenophobe, whatever that means. I mean, I know his English is really good for an immigrant. How can I be racist? You've met my boyfriend, right? He's a mixed race Mexican, for Christ's sakes.
Well, Shayla said she had to run to another class.
But I think she needed out of that conversation, don't you?
Definitely. You know, I felt sorry for both of them. Alice has zero insight about why she shouldn't act this way, and it's not Shayla's responsibility to educate her on every racist and harmful behavior. I guess that's part of the reason she walked away.
Which is why it's so important for you to step up. Let's see if you can figure out the most positive way to challenge Alice over her behavior and help us fight against microaggressions.
We've created some guidelines for having constructive conversations about racism and added them to your journal. You can check it now before you start or at any stage during the conversation.
You'd better get back to the locker area now to find her.
Shayla didn't even say goodbye. What's her problem?
I'm done with your crap, Alex.
And I'm sick of being judged by you social justice warriors. I thought we were friends. Oh no, what do you mean? Yeah, I did. So? You're completely wrong. I know Shayla. We're friends.
I found what you said really offensive.
What exactly are you talking about? Well, I didn't know that. I obviously wasn't looking to offend him. No, I'm not. When did you get so sensitive anyway?
Adil's English is good because he was born here.
Oh, wow. I didn't mean. Okay, I got that wrong.
Well done for navigating your way through that difficult conversation.
Yeah, finding the best way to call out microaggressions isn't easy.
I totally get why people try to avoid the conversation altogether, but it's really important to step up in those situations.
That's right. When you make everyone's well being community business, we all benefit. So it's great that you're doing your part, especially those who have lived through similar experiences. And if you're someone who's in a position of privilege, thanks for working even harder to level the playing field.
Okay, so now you've seen our strategy for tackling microaggressions in action.
Don't worry if you didn't get right the first time. It takes practice to master these techniques. And the best way to do it is by putting it into your own words.
So to complete your training, we want you to help Alice understand why she was wrong to tell Adil he was lucky to have a diversity scholarship.
You've got this. Just remember your training, and you'll be fine. It's great practice because the more time you spend refining what you would say here in the safety of VR, the more confident you'll be talking to your friends about it in real life. Because you won't need to think on your feet. That's going to help you become a super effective ally in the fight against microaggressions.
But don't worry if your response doesn't come easily. Just try to remember the strategy you learned in the previous activity. Practice really does make perfect. It's cliche because it's true.
There'll be a hint on the screen behind Alice to guide you. And remember to check the notes in your journal if you need any more information.
Come on, you'd better head back to the locker area. Alice is waiting for you.
Oh, hi, you're back. Great. I got you latte. Look, I'll be honest. What you said before was really helpful. But I don't think you understand my situation. That comment I made about Adil's scholarship, his family's loaded, and he gets to have a paid scholarship because he's a minority. Money's really tight for my family. But I don't get a scholarship, do I?
So here is where I tell Alice, using the strategies that you see behind on the board and on my journal, what I think about her comments about a deal situation with the scholarship. And then you'll see what happens when you get to see yourself speaking through Alice's eyes. And that's where we body swap. So here is where I tell Alice, using the strategies that you see behind on the board and on my journal, what I think about her comments about a deal situation with the scholarship. And then you'll see what happens when you get to see yourself speaking through Alice's eyes. And that's where we body swap.
Alice, I know all this stuff around race is sensitive. It's tricky to talk about and hear, and I don't want you to feel under attack, okay? But it's important that we look at what you just said. Let me say straight off that I'm sure you didn't mean to be offensive. You probably felt you were complimenting a deal when you said he was lucky to have a minority status because he gets to apply for scholarships. And it must be hard for you knowing that your family will struggle to find the money for you to go to college. Look, he's earned whatever scholarship he gets. It's got nothing to do with him being a minority or the color of his skin. And what you said shows that you only saw his racial identity, not his well-earned achievements. That's how it was interpreted. How would you feel if I said that you're only doing well in your classes because you're a white girl? Same thing, right? Look, I'm not here to speak for how that remark made a deal feel. Personally, though, as you can tell, I wasn't good with the comment, Alice. I found it offensive and very hard to take, which is why I had to call it out. Have I helped you understand why it's wrong to say a deal is lucky to have a diversity scholarship?
Oh, wow. This has been such an eye-opener. I'm so embarrassed about what I said. I never for a minute meant to offend Adil, but I can totally see how I have. I need to go find him and apologize and do better.